Scary here.
Ito, toko. Nasa rin magpipicture pa dito. Ha? Nasa likod ng pinto yung toko. Pakita ko na ito ng toko ng dito. Okay? Ayan, ilawan nyo.
Wow, you're so big. Wow.
Corregidor in the province of Cavite is one of the most interesting island places in the Philippine archipelago. Once dubbed as the Rock by the Americans, it is the last bastion of freedom in the Philippines during the Second World War. Corregidor almost has every tourist spot a visitor would want to visit. Its rich World War II history is incomparable. It has perfect nature trails, it has wildlife, it has its own beach, and let us not forget the mysterious tales of ghosts and the supernatural in the island. Its proximity to Metro Manila, 1 hour away by boat to exact, is also a plus for those looking to find a quick weekend getaway. In December 1941 up to middle of 1942, we are conquered by the Japanese forces. After 3 years of Japanese rule in the Philippines during the World War II, the island of Corregidor is set to be retaken by the American and Philippine forces on February 16, 1945. Paratroopers that landed on the site of the Maylong Barracks to liberate the strategic island in the southwest of the capital, Manila. The forces carried by ships arrived on the island. Corregidor is once again in control of the Americans under the Commonwealth of the Philippines. 76 years later, Corregidor will be opening again its shores. Tell us again the beauty and the valor of its history.
Bukas ng muli sa mga turista.
Tapos ang 11 buwan o mula pa noong Marso nang magpatupad ng ilang restrictions dahil sa COVID-19 pandemic, ay binuksan na muli ngayong araw para sa mga turista ang Corregidor Island. Kasabay ng reopening, inaalala din na makasaysayang pangyayari sa Corregidor ngayong araw. February 16, 1945, ang unang araw na mabawi ng mga tropa ng Pilipino at Amerikano ang isla mula sa Japanese Imperial Army. Marami sa mga nagpuntang turista ang hinintay ang muling pagbubukas ng Corregidor.
Nakita namin sa page ng Corregidor na pwede na pala pumunta dito. So sinakto talaga nung aming isa sa mga kasama namin na mag-schedule ng tour dito.
Saya kasi yun nga, narinig ko lang actually sa kanila na maganda nga dito.
Corregidor reopens as we are the first guests of the island after it was closed due to pandemic in 2020. On this historic day, we're also commemorating the historic retaking of the island from the Japanese Imperial Army by the Filipino and American troops. Start our travel to Corregidor Island in the seaside terminal in Pasay City. The round-trip tickets are included in the package tour. The travel will take 1 to 2 hours.
Ladies and gentlemen, Attention to all passengers bound to Corregidor Island for 8 o'clock departure. The boarding gate is now open. Please board MV XGC Voyager. Kindly present your ID before boarding the vessel. Thank you.
Although there are a lot of tourist spots in Corregidor Island, it is curious to note that there are only a handful of corridor tour outfits in operation. During the pandemic, this was out of operation. On February 16, 2021, Kamaya Coast is now the official transportation partner of Corridor Foundation. We will travel via Kamaya Ferry MBXQC voyage that will take us there for just 1 hour and 15 minutes from Manila. A fully air-conditioned business class vessel that has been the reliable ferry service with 190 seating capacity, one seat apart adhering to the travel protocols that guarantees safety and convenience for all.
Your journey with us. Today, we put our trust in you as we travel. Yeah, we're hurt.
As we arrive in the island, we rode an electric tranvia or tram. That's why we feel we are traveling back in time. In every tram, there is a guide that will explain everything about the island and its history.
Ako po si Armando, tour guide nyo, driver niyo si William. Good morning, William.
But aside from riding a tram in guided tour, you can also go around in corridor by bike or by walking.
Tour is from the Spanish word corregir, meaning to correct. Panahon ng Kastila, lahat ng barko na lumalabas at pumapasok sa Manila Bay, pinapadaan muna sa Isla del Corregidor, Island of the Corrector, to have their papers checked, to have their documents in proper order, and to have their cargoes inspected.
Parang immigration.
Panahon ng Amerikano, Corregidor was one of the best fortresses of the Americans outside of their country. Tinawag nila itong Fort Mills. Ang budget sa Fort Mills, $150 million by 1903. So isa pong first-class military fortress. Bago mag-era, Corregidor had 9 civilian communities. They had horseback riding activities, a 9-hole golf course, 2 sinihan, 9 na electric train o tranvia, meron ding lighthouse, airstrip, commissary or duty-free shop, baseball fields, bowling alleys, an Olympic-sized saltwater swimming pool, tennis courts, several banks. Sa liit ng island, they also have taxi services here. 2 of the world's longest barracks nandito. And sa buntot dati was the Voice of Freedom na kung tawagin ngayon ay Voice of America, the largest radio network in the US today. Simpleng usapan, ang sundalong naka-assign dito was considered to be of very good living.
Corregidor is packed with places to visit, especially for history buffs. Tagged as the second most bombed place in the history of the world next to Warsaw, Poland, it probably has more World War II history than any other place in the Philippines. But besides those, it also has a host of other touristy areas like beaches and hiking trails that one can get lost in. Most of the historical places is covered by Corridor Day Tour package. But if you want to go to other places, you must get there on your own. There is a view deck where you can see Caballo in Carabao Island. It is believed that Americans put some arms and weapons as part of its defense of the island. But also in this place, you can see the area that became the suicide spots of the Japanese. They chose to take their own lives rather than be captured with the Americans. In regards with the American defense system, Americans installed 23 batteries where they hid their weapons like cannons, mortar, and guns. only 6 batteries could be visited. We visited some of these. First, we visited the Battery Way.
23 gun batteries, welcome to Battery Way. 10 taong ginawa, completed in 1913. Isang taon bago nag-World War I, nandyan na yan. Ngayon, meron kayong 4 na kanyon capable of firing at the rate of 1 round per minute per mortar. Sa likod ng kanyon, walang firing pin o breech block. Bago sumurrender, utos si General Wainwright, destroy all guns 45 calibre pataas para hindi magamit ng hapon. Kinalas yung breech block, tinapon sa dagat. Now, way in front was the gunpowder room. Sa kaliwa, shell room, cartridge room, at generator room. Yung pader, 3 feet. Yung bubong, 8 feet na buo semento designed to be bomb-proof. Yung mga sira at butas sa gate, hindi tama ng bala yan. Pasinin nyo yung sahig, pag warak, a bomb drop, boom, damaging the floor, fragments or shrapnel will ricochet, making holes and other damages. It was suicidal to be anywhere out here in broad daylight then. Pag hinawakan nyo yung kanyon, mainit pa yan. Kasi nakabilad sa araw.
You can see here the 4 12-inch mortar that can fire up to 12 to 14 yards or 10 meters to any directions. The height of each mortar is 10 feet and it needs to be operated by 14 soldiers. These mortars are hidden, so how come they can see their targets?
Nung ginawa po ito, 1913, wala pang World War I, di ba? So they do not know what airplanes can do. After completion, ang Battery Way hindi pa nakacamouflage. After World War I, they saw what airplanes can do ni Retaking. So nang World War II, it was camouflaged already.
After the 12 hours of continuous firing, the mortar is the last weapon at Corregidor before it surrenders to the Japanese Imperial Army on May 5, 1942. Another place we visited is the Middleside Barracks. It consists of 2 3-story buildings that was built in the middle part of the island. The Filipino and American soldiers live here. It was destroyed because the Japanese soldiers bombed this place in 1941.
Okay, we're now going to see a much bigger gun called Battery Heard. Ang Battery Heard, 12-inch gun, parehong kalibre ng Battery Way, pero isang kanyon lang. Isang malaking kanyon, and that's it. Single gun emplacement. Pag mas malaking kanyon, may reserva o spare barrel. 300 putok na gagasgas, affecting the accuracy. Sa kanan po is where they reline the old barrel. Okay, so ang Battery Heard also was the last to be assembled dito bago maggera, completed in 1922. It is also the most powerful gun sa island with a maximum range of 17 miles or 27 kilometers. And being the most powerful nung sumurrender ang Corregidor, ginawa siyang propaganda picture ng Hapon. The Japanese were on top and all around Battery Heard sumisigaw ng Banzai! Banzai! Pictures scattered all over Manila. America is now defeated in the Philippines. That's the most popular picture of Corregidor. Ito po sa kaliwa yung spare barrel. Now with 17 miles range, ang Battery Heard could fire in all direction. 360-degree traverse. Nakaharap sa open sea, expecting a naval attack to enter Manila Bay. Wala siyang target sa kabilang side which is facing Manila. Nakita nyo sa likod yung firing pin nakakabit. Bridge block has been installed, clear indication ng repair. Naayos na ng Hapon after the surrender with the help of 200 American prisoners of war. Wala kaming ebidensya na gamit o napaputok ng Hapon. Alam naman na Amerikano retaking na na-repair, tinarget nila. Yung malaking crater sa gilid was in 1945 retaking. A 1,000-pound American bomb made an almost direct hit. Boom! Crater, nakita nyo, patik-patik yung kanyon, fragments from shrapnels. At sa harap po itago ng balat pulpura or the ammunition room.
One of the highlights of the Corregidor historical tour is the Pacific War Memorial. It was built to commemorate the soldiers who died in the Pacific War. Here, we can see the popular statue of Filipino and American soldier that signifies brotherhood and alliance. To the left, you can see the ruins of Corregidor. The movie that was last shown here is the movie gone with the wind. On the end side of the compound, you can see the round altar. They also had their Pacific War Memorial Museum, where important memorabilia and historical items is on display. The Eternal Flame of Freedom Monument can also be seen in displays made by the national artist Aristelis Demetrios. Here in this place also we can see the popular mile-long barracks, where soldiers also lived. It is also known as the world's longest military barracks, which ranges from 1,520 feet, and this building used to withstand storms and typhoons. That is why it is hurricane-proof. This is also the place where General Douglas MacArthur's office is located. The Spanish lighthouse can also see here, said to be in the highest point of the whole Corregidor Island. The Spanish lighthouse gives anyone who climbs it the best and an unobstructed view of the neighboring islands, Bataan, Cavite, and when lucky, even Manila. The stairs to the viewing deck are steep and tiring, so climbing the steps to the top will probably be the best idea for those with a fear of heights. Right smack in the middle of the island corridor, sandwiched between the south and north dock, hidden behind tall trees and lush undergrowth is a small clearing with a cream-colored chapel in its midst. It's really part of the usual corridor tour. We visited it when we are about to go home. Not much has been written about the chapel. All I gathered was this: it is used to be the church that served Barrio San Jose residents in the corridor during the pre-war times. Then later, with a soldiers stationed at the island as the Second World War rolled into the Pacific. Although Japanese are seen as the enemies of the World War II in the Pacific, there are also memorial gardens for them here. The Japanese Memorial Garden. Filipino Heroes Memorial. Designed by the National Artist for Architecture Francisco Mañosa. It has 40 murals made by Manuel Casal. Here we can see the fight and struggle of the Filipinos for independence, from Ferdinand Magellan to Ferdinand Marcos. See here the statue of the guerrilla soldier. There are also statues of President Manuel Quezon and President Sergio Osmeña, Filipino women, and a monument for soldiers who died for the cause of liberty. Of course, we visited the most popular place in the island, the Malinta Tunnel. This was named Malinta Tunnel because during the digging and construction of the island, the workers say that there are so many leeches in the place. It was constructed for 10 years. This place is huge as 9 basketball courts combined. It has 13 laterals and side streets in the north side and 11 in the south. This is the strongest stronghold in the island because it was carved from the stones. You can also have some night tour if you want to test your courage here and have some ghost hunting, as other travelers called it. If you want some overnight adventure, you can check into their hotels, or like what we do, we had an overnight camping in the side of the South Dock. Besides the usual corridor historical tour, The Rock also offers other exciting activities for any age group. There is the South Beach for those wanting to swim and get a tan, with zipline, ATV rides, kayaking are also available for more adventurous travelers. The island is also replete with wildlife. Monkeys, deers, and birds abound, perfect for nature lovers and wildlife photographers. Everything in the island is the remnants of the past. Historical tour might sound boring and less fun, but having such will make us realize how important history for us living in this day. Corregidor Island was retaken by the Americans and Filipino troops in 1945, but now we are retaking it back from the slumber when the pandemic strikes the world and force it to rest. Let us relive the history. And this is Lemon Tubero for Tuklas Pilipinas.